The ingredients that you need to make sushi are nori sheets, rice, sugar, salt, rice wine vinegar, and your filling. Now, I'd just like to explain a couple of things. Now, in terms of rice, of course, if you can find sushi rice, then please by all means use it. But if you can't, and it's not always easy to find, I actually use here in the UK arborio rice, which is the rice that you buy for risotto, and it works out perfectly fine. In Australia, I used medium grain rice, also worked perfectly fine. Short grain rice will do the trick as well. In terms of your rice wine vinegar, again, if you can't find it, don't stress. You can also use just ordinary vinegar. White vinegar, white wine vinegar works, no problems at all. In terms of your filling, you can use raw fish as I am doing, or anything cooked like cooked chicken breast or smoked salmon or ham. Also vegetables like avocado or the tiny little asparagus tips are lovely to make sushi with. Now if you choose to try using raw fish, then of course you have to use fish that is really super fresh. This is fish that I bought this morning. Making the sushi now, it's going to be consumed this evening, and I've done this many times, no problems at all. But you need to satisfy yourself that the fish that you're buying is really very fresh. Talk to your fishmonger and tell your fishmonger that you're intending to cook sushi, to prepare sushi, and is the fish fresh enough, and he or she should tell you. If you're not sure, then use something that's cooked, or cook the fish. That should work fine as well. Now in terms of equipment, the things that you will need are a bowl to mix your rice in, and a good sturdy spoon to do the stirring with, some cutting boards, a very good sharp knife, and a Pyrex jug for some boiled water that we'll be using as we prepare the soup. So here is the rice that I cooked previously using the rice cooker. I cooked 1 1/3 cups of arborio rice, which has given me about 2.5 cups of cooked rice. And to this, I'm going to be adding 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of sugar, and 2 tablespoons of the rice vinegar. Okay, now once those ingredients are added, we need to stir that quite vigorously to get all of the salt and sugar distributed evenly through the rice. Okay, so that's come together quite nicely now. It's starting to look glossy, smells nice, and should also be getting a little bit sticky. Now to prepare the tuna, I just cut it into slices, and I will keep a few slices for the sushi, and the rest I'm going to cube up and put onto a platter just to be eaten as is, as sashimi. So just slices like that. Doesn't really matter if it breaks. Okay, that's probably enough for the sushi, and the rest I'm going to cut a little bit thicker because I'm going to cube that and just put it on my platter to be eaten as is. So here we have the salmon, which I've cut away from the skin. Now for those of you who are interested, who might be purchasing salmon with the skin on, there is a little bit of video at the end which shows you how I do that. The pieces are still a little bit thick. We need to cut them into more of an even thickness to be putting into the sushi. So the lengths don't really matter, but we want to have a fairly even thickness of all of the pieces. That one's all right. This one's a bit thick here. Okay. And as with the tuna, I am going to be serving some up by itself as sashimi on a separate platter. Okay, So that's looking fine. I think I've got enough. Okay, so now comes the fun part, which is putting the rice, your prepared rice and the filling onto your seaweed nori sheets. And this is the part that I think many people would find the most difficult, because you have to work fairly quickly, because as soon as the rice hits the seaweed, it starts to make the seaweed soft, and the seaweed can possibly tear if you don't, work quickly enough. So I'm going to show you how I do this, which is a method that I find works every time. What you need to have before you start in your Pyrex jug is some water that you've just boiled in your kettle. We're going to be using the hot water to help us spread the rice onto the nori. So you need clean and dry work surface, your nori sheet, your spoon, and what you do is you take about 3 heaped tablespoons of rice and place it like that onto your seaweed. And now we have to work quite quickly to spread that. And to do it, what I recommend you do, put your spoon into the jug of boiled water, just shake off the excess water, but your spoon should be nice and hot, and with the back of the spoon, spread the rice all over the nori sheet as quickly as you can, dunking again if you need to. I like to get the rice onto the nori quite thinly. It's much easier to roll if the rice is on there and it's only about 1 to 2 grains of rice thick. Okay, so can you see how I'm doing that? Just pressing it back, pushing it out. So we're kind of working out. We're starting to stick. Dunk it again in the water. Okay, now at this point, if you wanted to, you could spread some wasabi on there, which is the traditional way. I don't do it only because the kids are not too keen. Okay, and now we need to roll quickly. I do not use a bamboo mat. I found when I try doing it that it would get in the way. I get much better control just using my fingers. Turn it over, tuck it right in, roll it up really, really tightly. And voila, you have your roll. And set it aside, and make sure to set it aside on the seam. Okay, that'll stop it from uncurling. Now, for those of you who are interested, I'm also going to show you how I get the salmon off the skin, because I have purchased a piece of fish which still has the skin on it. So basically what I do is, with a really sharp knife, cut a strip about 1 centimetre or a bit more thick down to the skin but not through, and then using the edge of your knife, can you see how I'm just sort of cutting that away from the skin there? And there it is. And the next one, do this one piece at a time. Sort of just, and I'll just show you one more, just to give you an idea. If you lift it a little bit away from the skin, you leave some of that